4 principles of male power that women can't resist. There is one fatal mistake almost every man makes the moment he feels a woman pulling away. And this single reaction instantly destroys all attraction. Are you making it? Welcome back to Stoic Heart, the channel where we explore ancient wisdom for modern resilience. If you believe that self-mastery is the ultimate foundation for a meaningful life, consider liking this video to help guide others to this path. Today, we delve into a topic often shrouded in misleading advice. We are not here to discuss manipulation or to view human connection as a game to be won. Instead, we are here to understand the fundamental principles of human nature through the clear, unshakable lens of Stoicism. The source of true attraction is not a tactic. It is a byproduct of a well-cultivated character. The Stoics knew that to influence the world, you must first master yourself. And in mastering yourself, you become a force of nature, a pillar of stability and purpose that is, by its very essence, deeply attractive. We will explore 4 fundamental principles not as weaknesses in others, but as reflections of human nature, both theirs and yours. For each principle, we will follow the Stoic tradition. We will present the idea, illustrate it with a story from history in greater detail than ever before, forge it into a practical tool for your life today. And finally, we will explore the critical nuance, the line between its virtuous application and its corrupted shadow. Let's begin. Principle 1. The pillar of inner tranquility. The world is a chaotic sea of emotions, yours, hers, everyone's. In this storm, most people are tossed about by the waves of anxiety, frustration, and fleeting excitement. A woman, just like any human being, navigates this emotional sea every day. Her subconscious is not searching for another boat being tossed by the same waves. It is searching for a lighthouse. It seeks a source of emotional certainty, a stability that signals safety and strength. This is not about being cold or emotionless. That is not the Stoic way. It is about being the master of your emotions, not their slave. A man who is easily angered, quickly discouraged, or emotionally dependent on others' validation signals that his inner citadel is unguarded. He becomes a source of chaos, not a refuge from it. When a woman feels she must emotionally manage the man in her life, the fundamental polarity of attraction is broken. She is forced into a role of strength that she sought in him. The Stoic man, however, builds his lighthouse on the rock of reason. He is the one who, when faced with unexpected trouble, does not panic but asks, "What is the virtuous path forward?" He provides a sense of security that is far more profound than any material comfort. This emotional unshakability is a beacon, signaling that he is a man who can be relied upon, not just when things are easy, but when the storms of life inevitably arrive. As Marcus Aurelius wrote to himself, "Today I escaped from the crush of circumstances, or better, I threw them out, for they were not outside me, but within my own judgments." This is the core of tranquility, the realization that external events cannot harm you, only your response to them can. To truly grasp this, we must turn to the life of that very emperor, Marcus Aurelius. Imagine being the most powerful man in the known world, yet the most besieged. Marcus's reign was not one of peace and prosperity. It was a relentless trial by fire. On the northern frontiers, barbarian tribes, the Marcomanni and Quadi, poured across the Danube, threatening the heart of the empire. In the east, Parthia was a constant menace, but the greatest enemy was one he could not fight with a sword. The Antonine Plague, a devastating pandemic of smallpox or measles, swept through the Roman world, killing an estimated 5 to 10 million people. The city of Rome became a charnel house. The air was thick with the smoke of funeral pyres. Panic was a contagion as deadly as the disease. His advisors begged him to flee to his country villa, to save himself from the sickness and the stench of death. But Marcus stayed. he walked the streets, a somber and resolute figure amidst the chaos. To fund the crisis, he held a public auction of the imperial treasures, selling off everything from golden goblets to his wife Faustina's silken gold-embroidered robes. He did this not out of panic, but out of a deep sense of officium, duty. His response was rational, measured, and rooted in service. Then, as the plague still raged, came the ultimate test, a personal betrayal. His most brilliant general, Avidius Cassius, a man he trusted and admired, declared himself emperor in Syria, spurred on by a false rumor of Marcus's death. His legions in the east supported him. It was the gravest possible threat, civil war while the barbarians were at the gates and plague ravaged the cities. His own court was a storm of fear and rage. His generals demanded the heads of Cassius and his co-conspirators. They screamed for vengeance against his family. In the eye of this hurricane, Marcus Aurelius stood calm. As the historian Cassius Dio records, he addressed his soldiers not with fury, but with a profound sadness. He lamented not the betrayal against him, but the fact that a friend had fallen into such error. His greatest wish, he told them, was that Cassius would be captured alive, so that he could forgive him. He saw the event not as a personal wound, but as a tragic unfolding of events, an opportunity to practice virtue, clemency, reason, and duty in the face of unimaginable pressure. This was not the absence of emotion, it was the mastery of it. He was the lighthouse, and the storm of a crumbling world broke against him, but could not extinguish his light. This is the lesson for us today. Your world is not the Roman Empire, but it has its own plagues, financial hardship, career setbacks, family crises. It has its own betrayals, disagreements, disappointments, conflicts. Life will constantly test your emotional stability. When your partner is overwhelmed with anxiety about the future, do you become a second source of panic? Or do you become the calm, steadying presence that helps her find her footing? When you are criticized at work, do you react with defensiveness and anger, or do you respond with considered reason? To build this pillar, practice the Stoic art of perception. When an event happens, insert a pause. Before you react, analyze. Remind yourself that the event itself is neutral. It is your judgment about the event that introduces harm. This practice, repeated daily, will forge your inner citadel. And the byproduct of your own peace of mind is that you will become a sanctuary for others, a man whose presence is a source of strength. The nuance: calmness versus apathy. It is crucial to distinguish the Stoic pillar of tranquility from the crumbling wall of apathy or emotional suppression. The goal is not to feel nothing. A man who is genuinely apathetic, who feels no joy, no sadness, no anger, is not a Stoic. He is disconnected from the human experience. A woman does not want a robot. She wants a man who can feel deeply, but is not controlled by those feelings. The attractive quality is not the absence of emotion, but the presence of self-mastery. It is the man who can acknowledge his anger and choose not to act on it, who can feel his anxiety and still do his duty, who can experience joy without becoming its slave. True tranquility is an active, vigilant state of emotional governance, not a passive emptiness. Principle 2. The value of a life beyond her human nature contains a powerful paradox. We devalue that which is too easily obtained. We cherish what is scarce, what must be earned. This applies not to things, but to the most valuable commodities of all: your time, your attention, and your purpose. A woman's subconscious mind operates on this same principle. It is drawn to a man she cannot completely possess, because his lack of complete availability signals that he has a life of immense value, a mission that commands his focus. Many men, upon finding a woman they admire, make the fatal mistake of making her the sole center of their universe. They abandon their ambitions, neglect their friends, and let their hobbies gather dust. They become endlessly available, orbiting her like a moon around a planet. This behavior, while often well-intentioned, communicates a devastating message. My world was empty until you arrived. You are my mission. This places an unbearable pressure on her to be the sole source of his happiness and, ironically, extinguishes the very attraction he seeks to build. A man with a mission, a purpose that is greater than his own comfort or even his own relationships, is the most magnetic force in the world. Women do not want to be your mission. They want to be the cherished partner of a man who is on one. They want to join a grand adventure that is already underway. A man who is building a business, mastering a craft, or pursuing a difficult personal goal is inherently attractive because he possesses independence, discipline, and a forward momentum that is thrilling to be around. He isn't waiting by the phone. He is busy, not as a tactic, but as a genuine consequence of living a purpose-driven life. For the ultimate example of a man defined by his mission, we must look to Cato the Younger, the Stoic senator who became the moral nemesis of Julius Caesar. Cato's mission was singular, absolute, and dearer to him than his own life: to preserve the Roman Republic from the tyranny of ambitious men. In an age of rampant corruption, where senators were bought and sold like cattle, Cato was utterly incorruptible. He deliberately wore simple clothing and lived modestly, not because he was poor, but to signal that he could not be tempted by the wealth that other men craved. Julius Caesar, the most charming and cunning man of his age, saw Cato as his greatest obstacle. Caesar tried everything to break him. He tried to ensnare him with offers of marriage alliances. Cato refused. He had Cato publicly humiliated and arrested. Cato went calmly, continuing to speak of the Republic's virtues even as he was being dragged away. He tried to outmaneuver him politically at every turn, but he could not defeat a man whose entire sense of self was tied to his principles, not to public opinion or personal gain. Cato's life had a gravitational center, and it was his unwavering duty to Rome. Everyone, including his family and his devoted wife Marcia, knew that Rome came first. This did not make him a lesser husband or father. It made him Cato. It made him a man of unshakable integrity, a man whose love and attention were all the more valuable because they were part of a life of such immense purpose. How do you apply the principle of Cato to your life? You must find your mission. What are you building? What knowledge are you pursuing? What problem in the world are you passionate about solving? It need not be as grand as saving a republic. It can be achieving peak physical condition. It can be mastering a musical instrument. It can be building a sustainable business, but it must be yours, and you must pursue it with disciplined focus. When you have a true mission, your behavior changes naturally. You stop being needy because your validation comes from your own progress. You don't have time for endless, meaningless texting because you are engaged in deep work. You maintain your independence and your own social life because those things fuel you. This isn't about playing hard to get. It is about being a man of value, a man whose attention is a gift, not a given, a man whose world she wants to become a part of. The nuance: purpose versus neglect. Herein lies the critical distinction. There is a vast difference between a man with a purpose and a man who is simply neglectful, aloof, or uses his mission as an excuse to be a bad partner. A man with a true mission still values and cherishes the woman in his life. He carves out dedicated, high-quality time for her. When he is with her, he is truly present. His mission gives his life structure and purpose, which makes the time he does spend with her more meaningful, not less. The neglectful man, by contrast, is simply absent, physically or emotionally. He lacks intention. The man of purpose is intentionally focused on his mission and intentionally focused on his partner when he is with her. She is a cherished part of his well-lived life, not an afterthought. Principle 3. The strength to walk away. One of the deepest fears in the human psyche is the fear of loss. We often only appreciate the true value of something when it is threatened. In relationships, this translates into a powerful dynamic. The person who is less afraid of the relationship ending holds the emotional high ground. Most men, when they sense a woman pulling away or losing interest, do the exact opposite of what they should. They are gripped by fear, and that fear drives them to chase. They text more, call more, demand explanations, and try to fix things through pleading or arguing. This behavior, born of fear, communicates one thing loud and clear. My happiness depends on you. I need you more than you need me. The moment a woman feels this, attraction withers. The ability to walk away is the ultimate demonstration of self-respect. It is a non-verbal declaration that you are not desperate, that your self-worth is internally generated, and that you have standards for how you expect to be treated. This isn't an ultimatum you speak, it is a quiet, internal resolve you embody. It is the calm knowledge that you would rather be alone in your own integrity than be in a relationship that compromises it. A man who is willing to walk away if he is disrespected, taken for granted, or if the relationship is simply not right, operates from a position of immense strength. A woman will naturally value a man more if she knows, on a subconscious level, that his presence in her life is a choice, not a desperate necessity. The life of the Stoic philosopher Epictetus is the ultimate lesson in this principle. Born a slave in what is now modern-day Turkey, Epictetus's life was not his own. He was the property of a wealthy and cruel freedman in the court of Emperor Nero. His body was subject to his master's whims. The most famous story about him illustrates his philosophy perfectly. One day, his master, Epaphroditus, in a fit of cruel amusement, began to twist Epictetus's leg in a torture device. Epictetus did not scream or beg. He simply looked at his master and said calmly, "You are going to break it." The master twisted harder, and the bone snapped. Epictetus's only response, without anger or tears, was, "I told you so." This story is not about an inhuman tolerance for pain. It is about a man who had already achieved a profound inner freedom. He had already walked away from attachment to things outside his control, his body, his freedom, his property. He understood the core Stoic teaching, the dichotomy of control, that some things are up to us and some are not. What was up to him was his judgment, his will, his character. What was not up to him was his master's cruelty. By placing his entire self-worth on what he could control, he became untouchable. His master could break his leg, but he could not break him. Later, as a free man and a revered teacher, Epictetus taught that the source of all our suffering is attachment to outcomes we cannot command. We suffer not because a woman pulls away, but because we have attached our peace of mind to her staying. The fear of loss is what makes us act in needy, unattractive ways. How do you apply the wisdom of a former slave to your modern life? You must cultivate a mindset of radical self-sufficiency. Your happiness must be your own responsibility. You walk away from the desperate need for her validation. You walk away from the fear of being alone. You achieve this by building a life you are proud of, a life that fulfills you completely on its own. When you enter a relationship from this place of wholeness, you are there to share your life, not to have her complete it. And if the relationship becomes unhealthy, you can walk away without bitterness, because it was an addition to your life, not the source of it. This posture of non-attachment doesn't make you cold, it makes you free. And a man who is free is a man she will never want to let go of. The nuance, self-respect versus manipulation. It is absolutely critical to understand the difference between the inner strength to walk away and the manipulative tactic of threatening to leave. The man with true self-respect hopes the relationship works. He invests in it, communicates honestly, and acts with integrity. His ability to walk away is a last resort, a consequence of his standards not being met. He walks away quietly, with sadness, but with resolve. The manipulator, on the other hand, constantly uses the threat of leaving to control his partner. He creates drama to test her, dangles the prospect of abandonment to get his way. One is an act of self-preservation rooted in strength. The other is an act of control rooted in weakness. Do not ever use walking away as a tactic. Simply be the kind of man who could if he had to. Principle 4. The paradox of controlled vulnerability. In our modern world, men are often given two conflicting pieces of advice. Be a rock, be strong and silent, and be open, be emotionally vulnerable. The truth, as the Stoics would appreciate, lies in the virtuous mean between these two extremes. Too much vulnerability, shared too soon or too often, is perceived as weakness and neediness. It burdens the listener and signals a lack of emotional control. Too little vulnerability, however, creates a wall. A man who is emotionally unavailable, who cannot share his inner world, is a man who cannot truly connect. The key is not just vulnerability, but controlled vulnerability. It is the art of knowing when, how, and with whom to share your inner self from a position of strength, not weakness. A woman does not want a man who complains, who dumps his daily anxieties on her, or who seeks her constant emotional validation. She is, however, deeply drawn to a man who has the strength to be open, but the wisdom to do it in a way that preserves his masculine frame and builds respect. Controlled vulnerability is selective. It is about sharing a past struggle after you have overcome it and distilled the lesson. It is about acknowledging a present emotion, this situation is frustrating, without being consumed by it. It's about letting a woman into your inner world gradually as she earns your trust, making the act of sharing a gift rather than a plea for help. A man's emotions should be like a deep ocean. She should know they are there, vast and powerful, but she should never feel like she is drowning in them. We can learn this from Seneca, the great Stoic philosopher who served as the advisor to the young, volatile Emperor Nero. Seneca lived a life of immense wealth and influence, but also one of constant danger. Serving a paranoid tyrant meant that every day could be his last. His philosophical letters are filled with profound vulnerability. He writes openly about his grief over losing a child, his struggles with his own temper, his fear of exile, and his constant contemplation of his own mortality. He wrote, "We are mad, not only individually, but nationally. We check manslaughter and isolated murders, but what of war and the much-lauded crime of slaughtering whole peoples?" This is a man grappling with the deepest pains of the human condition. However, his vulnerability is never presented from a place of weakness or complaint. It is always framed as a philosophical problem to be examined and mastered through reason. He dissects his grief not to seek pity, but to understand it. He shares his fear not to be coddled, but as a teaching tool for his reader. He is always saying, "I too am a flawed human being, but here is how our philosophy gives us the tools to fight our demons." He never relinquishes his position as the guide, the man of strength. He controls the narrative of his own struggles, sharing his wounds only after he has understood how to treat them. This is your model. When you choose to be vulnerable, do it with purpose. Don't share a current problem you are panicking about. Share a past challenge and the wisdom you gained. Instead of saying, "I'm so stressed about this project, I don't know if I can do it," you might later say, "That project last month was incredibly challenging. There was a moment I thought we'd fail, but it taught me the importance of..." The first is a plea for rescue. The second is a gift of wisdom. This distinction is everything. A man who reveals his inner world on his own terms from a position of strength becomes irresistible. The nuance: vulnerability versus trauma dumping. The modern concept of trauma dumping is the corrupt shadow of virtuous vulnerability. Trauma dumping is unstructured, unfiltered, and unconscious. It is offloading your raw emotional baggage onto another person to make yourself feel better, without regard for their capacity to handle it. It is a fundamentally selfish act. Controlled vulnerability, by contrast, is a conscious and intentional act of sharing. It is about building connection, not seeking therapy. Before you share something deeply personal, ask yourself, am I sharing this to create a deeper bond, Or am I sharing this because I'm overwhelmed and need someone to fix me? The Stoic man takes responsibility for processing his own emotions first. He may invite his partner into that process, but he never makes her responsible for it. These are not tricks. They are principles for building a character of unshakable worth. They are about becoming a man of tranquility, purpose, self-respect, and controlled strength. When you cultivate these qualities, attraction is not something you have to chase. It becomes the natural, inevitable consequence of who you are. What is the one principle you will start working on today? Is it building your inner tranquility like Marcus Aurelius, defining your mission like Cato, cultivating the self-respect of Epictetus, or mastering the controlled vulnerability of Seneca? Let us know in the comments below, as declaring your intention is the first step toward mastery. And if you are committed to this path of becoming a stronger, more virtuous man, be sure to subscribe to Stoic Heart for more wisdom on mastering life. Until next time, stay strong, stay grounded, and never chase.